Hello everyone, my name is Tori Smith, and it's nice to be back with a living. Oh my God, I almost died. And I've just been throwing up, and I tested positive. Well, something happened on Friday the 3rd, and there were 106 beings around me, and they were doing all kinds of things, using all kinds of weapons, and I didn't even know at the time, but they were injecting me with a radioactive, I believe, nuclear compounds. I am going to get a list of them. I had a DNA test, and the woman who did it for me quickly told me the results over the phone on Tuesday, the following Tuesday. And I think there were like 5 or 6 radioactive chemicals that she found in my body, plus, everything else. And then they had been using so many weapons on me that everything is basically a blur. And, I haven't been able to work out. I used to be buff, and, I was able to work out for a while. So I weigh about 230 pounds. I don't really have a lot of body fat. But my blood pressure has been 90/60. And my normal my normal body temperature runs about 96.4. I don't have no idea why. My mother has always run 96.4 as well. And I went up to 102.5. And sometimes, I've just been sweating and really cold at the same time. And I've spent so much time in bed over the last 11 days that I've really kind of fallen behind. And then today, I had to get some work done, in the yard. I wasn't able to mow. I think I mowed, I don't remember when I started. I mowed about 1/3 of the backyard, and I had to quit. And I wasn't able to finish today. And, but I put in a raised bed for growing some vegetables, which took 3.5 months for me to get that done. Most people would just go to the store, get the wood, get the dirt, screw it together, dig out the hole, dump in the new dirt, and go on their merry way. Well, it took me 3.5 months to get that done. And then when it came into the house, it was just like a major, major attack, because they absolutely do not want me to do any more reports. And I haven't really been able to, really do any kind of detailed reports, but I wanted to give a general, a brief report about some things that are going on. There were 4 things, and I would like to start with the good news. And because I forgot to tell everybody, Prince Rogers Nelson, everybody loves Purple Rain, and so many people loved Prince. He was just an absolutely beautiful man, small man, that had a huge spirit. He didn't stay in heaven very long when he died, because they injected him with the same chemicals that they were putting in my pelvic girder. And every time I would take a shower, they would just burn like crazy, and then they would keep injecting me while I was in the shower, and it would just burn like crazy. A lot of times it would hurt so bad I would start crying. They did the same thing to Prince 117 times. He's a little guy. I think he was like 5'2" or whatever. So eventually, they killed him with a scalar weapon and then blamed it on the drugs. Fentanyl, I believe, was the pathetic excuse that they used, but he was actually killed with a scalar weapon. But what I forgot to do was tell everybody that he didn't stay in heaven very long. In fact, he was born on May 4th, 2016. And, I'm not able to contact somebody when they're first born, because they're an infant. But he was born on May the 4th in Agartha. And for some reason, I don't know, because it's like a slightly different dimension or a different frequency or whatever, I have no idea how it works, but they grow up faster down there. It's like heaven. So they grow up faster. And so he just wanted to come back right away to, rejoin his friends and family. He didn't want to. A lot of people that did that came back, like, remember Actor? I just blacked out his name. The really handsome guy with blue eyes. Vin Diesel's friend, Paul Walker. He also was born right away. And I would like to do a quick update. A friend of mine asked me to look at the Orlando incident. And I can quickly tell you, the man who shot everybody was basically a tool. He was the weapon used to shoot people and to kill as many people as he possibly could. He was trained at the Langley, Virginia MyLab. And most of this was overseen by the assistant director of the CIA, American Division. And his training was really, really intense, because what they do is they just take over your mind. And they tried to do the same thing to me back in 2012. They tried to get me to kill people, but I'm not a killer. I'm a lover, not a fighter. And, so that's when they started doing all these experiments on me and raping me every day. But, I just wanted to let people know that, not just the Orlando incident is the CIA, but every single incident that is similar to this is a CIA production. Remember, there was that movie theater in Colorado. I think they call it the Batman shooting. There was a high school in Colorado, Columbine. There was, a school in Kentucky. All the college shootings, all CIA productions. The elementary school shootings, all CIA productions. All of them. And you might even remember Lockerbie, where this one guy from Africa was blamed for the murders, but it was actually a CIA production. And a lot of people never really took the time to do any research about the evidence, but it was the CIA. I can't remember his name because it happened a long time. It was like in '74 or whatever. But anyway, Hillary Clinton ended up murdering, I think his name was Gaddafi. And Hillary Clinton murdered 138,000 people in Libya. Why? Because, well, several things. He refused to be a puppet for, the dark side. And he tried to become a better person, and he wanted to start giving college education for free and start feeding people for free. And he wanted gold for oil. And you know how that goes on this planet. The oil cartels, had Hillary murder him and a whole bunch of other people. In fact, one of the places they killed was an apartment complex. And Hillary is still awaiting trial in Iran. Because all of the people, I can't go into it now, but she went through a process that I call absorption. And when certain people make the decision to join the Illuminati or dark side or whatever it is you want to call them, the Nazis, the Republicans or Democrats or whatever, they go through a process called absorption. And they tried to do it to me, but I woke up halfway through the process and completely freaked out. It took me about 30 seconds to be able to connect to God. And once that happened, God's energy got him right off of me. But what happened to me was I was completely laying flat on my bed, kind of spread eagle, and I woke up and I was halfway absorbed into some kind of a being. And all these actors, like Tom Cruise and Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth, all these actors who were arrested, I think there were 64 or 69 of them that were arrested, they had all gone through that absorption process. And, well, Obama had gone through that process too. See, Obama he's not gay, but he's pretty much a homosexual who was a bottom. But the entity that absorbed him was the one who really liked to rape and murder children. And I think it was like almost 300 children he raped and murdered. The same thing happened to, Michelle Obama. She's murdered 4 children, but she murdered them by Illuminati dagger through the heart. And so those two things, I wanted to do an update. I'm trying to do a much more detailed report, but this is the first day that I was able to be up and around, and every time I tried to sit down, and it's just major, major, major attacks, and whatever they're doing to me, everything gets so blurry that I can't even hardly see, and I can't even remember, but I tested positive for all these radioactive chemicals in my body. You know what, I didn't even know that kryptonite was a real thing. I thought it was just in the Superman movies. And then, but I'm going to get a list of the results that I got that Tuesday. And here in Indiana, on Friday, June 10th, they got a group of 13 children, and they were all 3 to 7 years old. 13 children were gang raped a total of 126 times by 46 men. And I haven't been able to complete the men who were there, but I did complete the list of who murdered the children. Sorry, I have to use this because I can barely see. Child number 1 was a 3-year-old boy from Malaysia. He was raped 67 times total, and he was murdered by a CIA agent named Thomas, who's an absolute nightmare. He's not human. And he's the one that has dissolved 17 children in his basement, and then as soon after they were dissolved by these acid chemicals, he just dumped them into the Indianapolis sewer. The second child was a 3-year-old boy from the Philippines. He was raped a total of 73 times, and the child was murdered by Eli Lilly CEO named John Leckleiter. I think his name is Leckleiter or whatever. Child number 3 was a 3-year-old girl from China. She was raped 108 times, and she was murdered by Indiana State Police Superintendent, whose name is Douglas G. Carter. Child number 4 is a 4-year-old boy from Japan, who was raped a total of 65 times, and this little boy was murdered by Mike Pence. Child number 5 was a 4-year-old girl from Malaysia. She was raped 101 times, and she was murdered by the man I call Indianapolis Municipal Police Department Officer Number 1. Because I don't know their names, and they don't put their pictures on the internet. So, and the Indiana State Police refused to allow me to see pictures of officers so that I could identify them. And the next child, number 7, was a 4-year-old girl from Mexico. She was raped a total of 74 times, and she was murdered by the sheriff of Marion County, which is Indianapolis County. Child number 8 was a 5-year-old girl from Mexico, and she was raped a total of 84 times, and she was murdered by Indiana State Police Officer number 6. Did I forget somebody? Indiana? Did I say? Seems like I just forgot somebody. Did I mention 6-year-old? The number 6 was a 4-year-old girl from Canton, China, raped 79 times, murdered by Indiana State Police Officer number 4. Because there's 18 total Indiana State policemen involved in the Indianapolis. Oh, I think it's like I'm going to start throwing up again. I've been throwing up so many times. Okay, where were we? Oh, the man that I tried to file a complaint against and ended up having a felony charge filed against me, which they later dropped, against Indiana Attorney General Greg Zoeller, he murdered another little girl. Child number 10 was a 6-year-old girl, and she was from Indiana. She was raped 106 times. Oh, whoops. See, this is really hard for me. I can hardly read. Let's go back. Child number 9 was a 5-year-old. Wait a minute. The Philippines. I'm sorry. See, I'm having so much trouble reading. Child number 9 was a 5-year-old boy from the Philippines, raped 81 times and murdered by Greg Zoeller. So he didn't rape and murder another girl. He raped and murdered another boy. That makes 2 boys and 1 girl. Sorry. I'm having a really hard time lately. At least I didn't die, right? And child number 10 was a 6-year-old girl from Indiana. She was raped 106 times, and she was murdered by a CIA agent named David from Indiana that lives in Indianapolis. Child number 11 was a 6-year-old girl. She was from Malaysia. She was raped 103 times, and she was murdered by something. I didn't get that right. I'm sorry. I'll have to do a more detailed report later. I forgot to write that down. Child number 12 was a 7-year-old girl from Tennessee who was raped 93 times, and she was murdered by an Army sergeant. And child number 13 was a 7-year-old boy from Tennessee who was raped 80 times and murdered by Forrest Lucas, the CEO of Lucas Oil. Now, I may have wrote Greg Zoeller's name down in the wrong place. It's been a really, really extremely difficult day. I don't know why I was thinking he raped a girl and murdered a girl. No, I'm going to look at his DNA. A boy. Okay, so it was a boy. But the one, I wrote somebody's name down twice. And I'll come back with a more detailed report as soon as I'm able to finish the list of those who were there. And I thank you for your support. It has been extremely, extremely difficult. and, you know, my urine has just been blood. And I just keep throwing up these horrible chemicals, and I'm sweating like crazy when I sleep. And it's just been extremely, extremely difficult. But heaven says this isn't going to go on much longer. So, you know, I don't know. Of course, I've heard it's almost over for 4.5 years. So, you know, heaven has a different time zone than we do. So I really hope it does end soon. And I want to thank you. Oh, it was an Army. Now it's coming up. Army Special Ops. The 6-year-old girl from Indiana was raped 106 times. No, I still got it wrong. The 5-year-old boy from the Philippines was raped 81 times. No, that was Greg Zoeller. See, it's too much for me. It's too much for me to do right now. So, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.